Yo, you already know who the fuck it is. ℔𝔬𝔩𝔢𝔬𝔢, we back in this bitch once again. Let's get into this. Hopefully everybody is good. Let's get into this shit. The name of this is called the Holy Doctrine, right? Before we talk about the Holy Doctrine, we have to define what holy is. And very quickly, holy is something that has not been altered, mixed, or diluted. Something that is pure. The only thing on this earth that we could consider holy at this point is the occult. We already have the understanding that over time things get corrupt. But the occult was never practiced in the mainstream. The occult has always been underground. And for that reason, it remains pure. This isn't something you can pay fees and you have entrance to all of the secrets. It is a personalized experience just for you in particular. So the holy doctrine, as we know, is a knowledge of self. Because without that, what do you truly have? At this point, let us go to the tarot, because I want to channel the dead at this point. So it's not just me speaking. There are a lot of people that are in transition from this life to the afterlife. Let's see if they have any messages to send, because we understand death is not the end. So the only way for the dead to speak is through us. So let's see what's going on, right? And of course, we will use the hidden hand to get our answers. The Queen of Clubs. So take a close look. As you see, it says occultum on there. Everything is supposed to look obvious, as every symbol has meaning, but the meaning is deeper than meets the eye. So let us decode what this is speaking about. The Queen of Clubs. We get a sensation of, you can say, a lot of people, because they are transitioning because of the hellfires. We would just call it the hellfires, because it inflames you. People are literally transitioning through the fires, the flames, right? What allows people to transition, one of the elements has to occur. What do I mean? In order for alchemy to take place, you need the elements. Whether you're using fire, water, air, or earth, you need some element in order to channel in the necessary atmosphere for alchemy to take place. Fire cannot manifest until the atmosphere is set for it to manifest. As we know, it's a process to prepare a fire in nature. It doesn't just come out of thin air. You have to arrange matter in a certain way and apply method. It's the same way when we practice the forbidden arts, because all elemental magic is considered forbidden. The reason why it's forbidden, hydromancy, pyromancy, aeromancy, geomancy, so on and so forth, the reason why these arts are forbidden is because they are actually successful in getting results. Nothing is going to be forbidden if it doesn't work. You're not going to make something forbidden. You're not going to throw people in jail. You're not going to cut off heads for something that isn't real. The occult has a long history of being real, so much so that people died because of it if they were accused of practicing any type of occultism. They were literally prosecuted. Their lives were destroyed in some form or fashion. Even to this day, if it's not through death, it's through death of your image. So the occult will always have a negative stigma attached to it because of its potency and because it's the oldest culture that's still alive to this day. If we say the occult comes from Egypt or comes from Hermeticism or the Hermetica, if we say it dates all the way back to Egypt or Kemet, the fact that we still are processing the information now, and you can say it was invented tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years ago. Again, who knows the actual date? But we know at least the form that we are practicing it in dates back to Egypt. So we know we got at least 10,000 years, 5,000 years. We have thousands of years. So this goes back thousands of years before there was any type of religion on the planet. So religion has came later on, and the occult still remains, and lo and behold, religion forges a war with the occult or the witches or anybody who practices these arts. So the one who was not here in the beginning, who comes later on, then forges war with those who have been here since the beginning. And this is what we call the Holy War. This Holy War, or this galactic war, has been going on for centuries. There will always be a certain type of person who subscribes to the mainstream, and you will always have the opposite, the one who goes underground to get the answers. We will always have that polarity manifested, as we know this to be a universal law. Because of this necessary polarity, it creates resistance. But this resistance will either crush you or forge you to be greater. It's either going to push you deeper underground or higher into the skies, depending on which path you choose to walk. It always comes down to either you are siding with the positive or the negative. Little do we hear about those who can access both realms, as we know it to be the middle path. The reason we don't really hear too much about someone able to walk both sides is because it's hard to really, let's just say, go to church and you secretly practice witchcraft and you really have to keep that secret. That's not something you can be open about because you know what type of reaction will result if you bring that forth, because you know that is not the type of environment to manifest those thoughts, whether they are real or fake. That is irrelevant, as tradition is more dominant than what we consider factual. We still have people who live by 15th century, 16th century rules and regulations. We have people who still subscribe to old laws, who are still not consciously in the 21st century because they subscribe to things that are older, but that was never created to take them deeper. You cannot take the occult out of anything and expect to go deeper. You cannot take the occult out of religion and expect to have transformation. You can't expect Christianity in its originality, which was Gnosticism. We can't say that Christianity is a replacement for Gnosticism, which is basically Christianity with the occult added. So Christianity with no occult becomes what we know it to be today. If you add the occult, it becomes Gnosticism. In the sense of Islam, if you remove the occult, you have the religion of Islam. If you add the occult, now you have Sufism. So there is no way, if you take the occult out of something, that you are expected to go deeper when what allows you to go deeper has been removed until you reassemble the pieces. Another way to put this is more of a dark manifesting light. We know the negative comes before the positive, in the sense of before you have light, you must have darkness. Before you have matter, you have to have dark matter. Before things, we have to have thoughts. We know that it is a process. It is a scientific, mathematical process that is followed through every time. It only appears to be magical because you can't perceive the process with your physical eyes. You only can perceive it with your consciousness, which goes beyond your physical eyes because your consciousness can penetrate all things, the all-seeing, the all-knowing. This is what consciousness is. So at some point, consciousness has to grow in order for us to truly perceive the true reality, or what is hidden underneath the physical plane. Once we see what is hidden underneath the physical plane, we get a sense of what occurs when you actually separate from your physical body. When you separate from your physical body, then you become pure consciousness until you dissolve into whatever it is that you choose to be after that, depending on the type of work you put in while you were here. This is the whole purpose of developing our psychic centers or our psychic abilities. We develop our psychic abilities so that we can penetrate through the veil, so that we have some type of idea or concept of death or life beyond the veil. And having that type of insight is the true mark of an artist. It's a true mark of someone who is able to penetrate reality and bring things into existence that did not exist, because you are looking through the lens. Death no longer scares you. You integrate with the currency of death. When you integrate with the currency of death, you become dualistic in your thinking. Now you're not purely positive or purely negative. You can wield both sides, and it's not determined on your circumstance, it's determined on your consciousness. If we understand that we can cleanse karma through our dreams, whatever we can't do here, we can do there. So it's never about what you can and can't do. It's just about you doing it in the appropriate location. Anything that you cannot do here, you can do in a different state of consciousness, and that's where you should do it, instead of you saying whether something is right or wrong. Anything that you consider wrong can be played out in a different form of consciousness so that you don't have consequences played out. It just takes you to develop a higher form of mental exercise. Once you develop a higher form of mental exercise, all of these things that we call magical and mysticals and miracles, these things become second nature, because this is just you tapping into your superconscious. Your superconscious allows you to do what we call miraculous feats. All this essentially falls under the banner of knowledge of self. Knowledge of self is knowledge of how far you can stretch your consciousness and your imagination so that you can perceive things that are invisible, hidden, and actually pull things out of thin air that we call thoughts. So the holy doctrine is the original culture. The original culture is pure. The closer we get to the original culture, the purer we become, because everything that is unpure will start to separate itself from you the deeper and closer you get to the originality. It happens on its own. So when you open yourself to the holy doctrine, that is what's pure. The very thing that you should stay away from is the very thing that will liberate you. But it's a catch-22, because it's not the easiest thing to do. If people's greatest fear is death, and you are told to run towards death as a consciousness, as a frequency, as a reality, to integrate with it, it seems like you are dealing with life backwards, thinking that way. However, the occultic mind understands the various dimensions of death. Death on a chemical level, death on a psychological level, so on and so forth. There are various forms and stages of death. So the more intimate you are with the various stages and functions of transformation and transmutation, you can activate these abilities within you on a smaller or microscopic level to have the same effect, to have a microscopic death versus an actual physical death. Microscopic deaths will allow you to have psychedelic experiences and actually gain some form of consciousness versus you actually taking yourself out. This is essentially the secret. Can you make the venom an antidote? And at that point, you are the alchemist who can manipulate consciousness at will. So with that, I bear peace.